What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to cover 3 different altcoins that I'm pretty sure are going to have a massive 2022. There's a lot of different altcoins we could talk about here in this segment, but I chose just to do 3 of them. And I'm going to correlate these to the ones that, if you've been watching Coffee and Crypto Live, are the ones that Smay, Kelly, and myself are competing with each other to see which one will have the best March. Now, Jeb's prediction is Cardano. That video, that project probably has its own video coming out, but I wanted to cover Atom, Solana, and AVAX because those are the 3 coins that the rest of us have. Smay attaching himself to Solana, Kelly to AVAX, and myself to Atom. We're going to do the technical analysis and look at what the rest of 2022 could be looking like for these projects. Let's go ahead and start with AVAX, where we have a couple different things happening with formations. Now, you're going to see a lot of different lines here, red and blue, but what I'm seeing right now is if I were to zoom out, we are currently in a rising wedge, which will eventually end up breaking to the downside, but right now has a lot of upside, seeing as that we are sitting at the support levels. Now, there's 2 different support levels. One, the longer time frame coming all the way up, which if I zoom out shows you that rising wedge, but in a shorter time frame, or looking at the daily chart at a zoomed in look, right now we are working in a symmetrical triangle pattern. Now, symmetrical triangle patterns are a little bit complicated. Sometimes they break up, sometimes they break down, but a good train of thought, if you've taken any course on technical analysis, for example, CT2A, you can look at the description down below and get more information about that, but is that whatever direction comes into a symmetrical triangle pattern, more often than not, is the direction that it ends up breaking. So in this case, coming back here to August of 2021, we broke up into the symmetrical triangle pattern, bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. So more often than not, we will probably end up bouncing to the upside. As you can see, we're getting really close to that peak. So this is something you definitely want to keep your eyes on, not just the rest of the year, but potentially here within the next couple of days. Looking at our Bollinger Bands on AVAX, you're going to see right now we're struggling right at our 20 daily SMA at about $78 or $77. Now, if we were to go to the upside, the top of these Bollinger Bands, we could get as high as 88 before we actually see a strong level of resistance. We also, though, if we reject off of this 20 daily SMA, we could come back down, testing maybe as far as $68 before we'd find support. Pairing this with the concept right now that we have a strong level of support from our formation and we are headed to the upside, my money is probably that we're going to move to not just go to $86, but potentially now turn this level of resistance into support. To back this up, if we use our TD sequential, we're going to find that right now we have just switched from bearish movement to bullish movement by switching from red numbers into green ones. We have a lot of room to grow. As you guys know, if you've done TD sequential, you're looking for a 9 flash to give you good evidence of a reversal. And even though we reversed after only a 5, this is a good indication that the market didn't need to come all the way down, but it was ready to go right now. The other thing I will say when I go out to my RSI is that we have to look back and remember what is the current trend technically right this second. So we have been moving up now for a couple of months, but we have been resisting ever since probably the beginning of December. Now, here we go. Why do I believe that the RSI is supporting a bullish movement in the long term? The last major trend that I saw give us any implication was a bullish one. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're looking at this point right here back on the 13th of October and this point right here on the 23rd of January, this is bullish continuation RSI divergence, or what we call hidden bullish RSI divergence. This is something that's calling for the price to come back to the upside. What I mean by that is the price continued to climb up, but at the same time, those RSI points continue to climb to the downside. So this gives us a continuation pattern, meaning we've been moving bullish, and this is a continuation. The RSI at the moment, though, has set up neither bearish nor bullish continuation or reversal RSI. So what I see here is actually an argument to say the RSI is calling for a continuation of this uptrend and for us to go ahead and break bullish out of this symmetrical triangle pattern. The key levels of resistance to be watching for right now is first this descending level of resistance of the symmetrical triangle pattern. So again, around $83, maybe even as low as 80 is where we're wanting to look to make sure we break within the next couple of days. After that, our flat levels of resistance of $87, $95, and then moving up closer to our all-time high of 122 and 135 are the next levels of resistance that we need to see AVAX end up breaking out of. And again, it's not something that might happen tomorrow or even next week, but watch over the next couple of weeks/months as AVAX works to get to the top of this rising wedge, potentially going above $200. Solana is another project that has a lot of bullish things going for it. As you can see here, we have two different levels of resistance that are key, as well as one level of descending support. Now, both of these formations have this blue line forming a falling wedge. This is a formation that, while it takes the price action to the downside, will end up breaking bullish in the long run. Let's focus on the shorter look and the shorter time frame look here on the daily chart, with this level of resistance starting back in January 17th, and we've had our last touch back here on the 3rd of March. Now, this is one, there is a potential we come up and hit resistance one more time before we break it. And what I mean by that is we come up, touch, come back down to support one more time before we break. But there's nothing saying we don't have the strength to break through right at this level. So what I will say is, let's watch to see if Solana can get back to around $100 and then push potentially to about 117 before we have our second level of resistance right here descending in a longer time frame falling wedge. Looking at the RSI, we're going to see that this actually is one of the projects of the three of them that has daily bullish RSI divergence set up right now. So we know this trend is coming to the downside, but look at what's happening on the RSI. Despite the fact that we continue to set lower daily closes, the RSI is starting to flip. What is this? This is strong daily bullish RSI divergence, which is calling for a change in the trend. If the trend right now is that we are going down in Solana, a change would be what? To the upside. So these are things that I love seeing on Solana, but the levels of resistance, I'm telling you, we got to watch out for. Let's start and focus on breaking through $97, working back towards 100. After that, we must make it through this other level of descending resistance around 120 before finally we start to look at higher prices like 200 and even setting a new all-time high around $260. The third and final project, that of Atom, which is the one that I chose to win March in that competition, is looking really good on the charts. Now, I'm zoomed out pretty nicely here on the daily chart, but we are what is called an ascending triangle pattern. What that is where we have a flat level of resistance, but at the same time, our lows keep getting higher and higher and higher. Now, I have an extended line here that goes all the way back. If I were to zoom out, that line has been significant now for a while, but I want to just look zoomed in and tell you why this is so significant. Let's go ahead and call the beginning of this back here around July 20th of 2021. Ever since this point, we have rallied up, but right at this flat level of $44, that has been the price that we've hit now 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Here's the thing. When you hit a level of resistance once, it's pretty strong. Even a second time, that's what we call a double top. That's a reversal pattern. But when you start to hit it 3 and 4, and now we're starting to head back up and potentially hit a 5th, 6th time, every single time we touch it, it seems to get weaker, especially since this is the bears telling the bulls no and they send them back down. But every time they send them back down, the price of the bottom just keeps going up and up and up. It's a matter of time before we finally break through this flat level of resistance and in a longer time frame end up continuing into a longer time frame a rising wedge. Now, before I worry about the rising wedge, let's look at what's happening and what needs to happen to break this level of about $44 of resistance. We already came back down here and touched this level of support right here on this rising blue line. But when it comes to divergence, what are we looking at here? Unlike Solana, we do not have any daily bullish RSI divergence set up at this moment. However, we have to go back and look at the same type of thing we are seeing on AVAX. The last strong daily RSI divergence, either bullish or bearish, that we have seen was in fact a bullish one. And until I see a bearish one set up, the trend is your friend until it ends, and it has not ended. This is something that's calling, with the RSI continuing to match almost point for point with what the price action is doing, the trend should continue to the upside. Even more so, if I bring up my Bollinger Bands, we actually have seen this last little descent came down and touched the bottom, or touched the 20 daily SMA, using it as support and send us back to the upside. So our flat level that we need to be worrying about for resistance right at the moment is around $33. But after that, if we can break through with confidence and turn that into support, we will then be set on our way back to around $44. And if we can break through there, could potentially see a price as high as maybe 79 or 80 before we have resistance. Now, before we celebrate, there is a potential that we're going to bounce around for a while. I know if you've been in crypto for a while, we never really make straight lines. Watch potentially for the price to fluctuate, and come down, touch support one more time before finally making this break. But as it stands at this moment, I'm loving where Atom is going. This is a great coin that if you've already bought into, to just go ahead and hold and wait for the bullish action to come. It might even be one that I would consider buying right this second. All three of these projects are going to have a great year, but I want to hear what you have to say. You know, I've done my research. I wasn't able to talk about fundamentals in this video. That will come in the future. But all three of these projects are having great fundamentals happen right now. Let me know in the comments what you think and which one is your favorite. Peace.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely consider subscribing because we're trying to help you become financially free in these cryptocurrency markets. And also, consider following us on Twitter @CryptoJeb for more updates on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Peace.